Bobby told our producer earlier what the question was, and I believe it had to deal with when will they start paying out claims, Mike?
Right.
So let's just go with that premise, and we'll answer the question as best we can.
Yeah, well, the answer is we don't know. We have a whole suit to run through. The judges even haven't laid out the rules on how they're going to go forward to try these cases yet. So there's no way we can say that, when it's going to go to court, when the ruling is going to be passed down, and how much will be received, or when it will be received.
Dealing with the federal government's never an easy task by any stretch of the imagination. And even though they're coming forward and acknowledging that a wrong has been committed against potentially millions of individuals, do you think at some point the federal government's hoping that some of these individuals just won't come forward and file these claims, or maybe will get stalled out and don't want to rehash or reopen a wound that has been healed or trying to heal for so many years, and now they're raising their hand saying, hey, but guess what, by the way, we were responsible for destroying your life as you knew it?
That's a couple of things. Yeah, first is yes, that's why there's a 2-year statute of limitation on this and not left open. The door's going to be shut very quickly.
Yeah.
2 years. If you remember Hurricane Michael, how long ago was that? It just seems like yesterday, and it's been a couple years.
Now, it's very important to file your claim within the 2-year period, even though you don't get it resolved in that period, to file it and preserve it, and it may take a lot longer to get your claim resolved after that. Mike, do you feel like some of this is a little bit of the unknown? I mean, they're trickling out information about what's allowed, what claims will be recognized, what the date periods are. But do you think that they're withholding a ton of documents from individuals to say, okay, how are we valuing your case and how much we're going to pay you? It's the federal government we're talking about. They hold they make all the rules, and they make the rules up as they're riding the bicycle. They're building the bicycle as they ride it. A lot of times.
That's it.
And so, a lot of clients are going to be asking us questions, and unfortunately, there's going to be a limited amount of information based on what the government's providing us at this point.
Because they haven't come up with the facts themselves. They're not sure how they're going to be trying these cases. There's 2 judges in North Carolina on the Eastern District of North Carolina. The way we understand it as now, that's going to be overseeing all these cases.
And there's potentially millions of claims. So
that's correct.
I just hate even thinking about some of this stuff because it's just so terrible. Because there's been some movies made about big class actions against other businesses, but we're talking about the federal government knew about it and concealed it for so long. But you're talking about children that were lost. You're talking about wives that were lost, or husbands that were lost, or brothers or sisters, and trying to put the facts together and say, okay, they were exposed to or they drank the water, so to speak, back then.
That's right.
Yeah. It's just a terrible thing to think about. Losing someone because of somebody else's intentional neglect. Yeah. I should say neglect, intentional acts.
Exactly. It wasn't neglect. It was an act of just turning your back on your brother in the field, which is something we don't do in the military. Yeah. I do want to also add that. If you received a letter from the VA saying that you have something associated with this claim, understand the VA is totally different than this suit. So one has nothing to do with the other. In fact, you may be entitled to VA benefits on top of the Camp Lejeune benefits.
Okay.
So that's very important.
And I could see how it could be confusing for someone because, hey, look, the federal government's reaching out to me. It's the Department of Veteran Affairs. I've got a Camp Lejeune issue. They may be taking care of me with this, so I'm just going to go the easy route because they've taken care of me. The federal government's not going to contact you and say, hey, look, if you don't file a claim, we'll still send you a letter to make sure we're preserving your claim. I mean, that's why they're giving you this strong 2-year deadline to file your claim, and if you don't, you're forever barred from alleging any type of misconduct to be compensated from it. So, you're talking about receiving a letter from the VA.
Right.
They're not going to intentionally or proactively send you a letter and say, hey, Mike, we know you were exposed. Please check this box and send it back to us. Yep. Postage prepaid, and we will preserve your claim.
No, that won't happen with the lawsuit.
The federal government's not going to do that. And so what I was alluding to earlier, the millions of people that have been affected by this, in their family trees that it just goes on and on and on and on.
It does, yeah. Generationally.
Yeah,
yes.
it's a generational issue. So